Everybody knows not getting enough sleep is bad for you. You've heard it a million times. Sleep 5 hours a night and your brain doesn't work properly. Your mood goes downhill. Your immune system takes a hit, and apparently you're shaving years off your life. None of that is new. But almost nobody talks about the opposite. What happens if you sleep too much? Because if sleeping 7 or 8 hours is good, then sleeping 10 or 11 should be even better, right? More sleep, more recovery, more time for your body to fix itself. Sounds like a pretty good deal, except that's not what scientists found. In fact, when they started looking at hundreds of thousands of people over years and years, they found something that honestly didn't make much sense. The people sleeping the longest weren't living the longest. They were actually more likely to die earlier. So now you've got a pretty uncomfortable question. Can sleeping too much actually kill you? Now, before you panic because you slept until noon last weekend, that's not what we're talking about. Everybody oversleeps sometimes. Maybe you stayed up until 3 in the morning. Maybe you were sick. Maybe you just needed a lazy Sunday. That's completely normal. One long sleep isn't going to hurt you. The weird part is when it becomes your normal. When 9, 10, 11 hours isn't something you do once in a while. It's what you need every single day. That's where things start getting interesting, because here's the thing. Your body isn't stupid. It doesn't just randomly decide to sleep for half the day because it feels like it. Sleep is expensive. Think about it. Every hour you're asleep, you're not eating, you're not moving around, you're not paying attention to what's happening around you. For most animals, sleeping too much is actually dangerous because you're completely vulnerable. Evolution wouldn't have built a system that makes us sleep longer than we need for no reason. So if your body suddenly starts demanding way more sleep than usual, there's usually something behind it. The question is, what? To figure that out, you've got to understand what sleep is actually doing. And no, sleep isn't just your body turning itself off for 8 hours. That's what most people imagine. You close your eyes, your brain shuts down, everything rests, then you wake up and you're good to go. That's not even close. While you're asleep, your brain is ridiculously busy. Memories are getting sorted out. Hormones are being released. Your immune system is doing maintenance. Damaged cells are being repaired. Your brain is even flushing away waste that builds up while you're awake. It's basically overnight maintenance for your entire body. You're lying there, doing absolutely nothing. But behind the scenes, there's a lot going on, which is exactly why not getting enough sleep is such a problem. If you constantly cut your sleep short, that maintenance never really gets finished. It's kind of like never servicing your car. It'll keep running for a while, but eventually things start breaking. That's why people who don't sleep enough have higher risks of heart disease, diabetes, depression, memory problems, and a bunch of other health issues. That part makes perfect sense. But here's where everything gets weird. If sleep is when your body repairs itself, then wouldn't more sleep mean more repairs? Wouldn't more sleep mean a healthier body? That's what you'd expect. Honestly, that's what a lot of scientists expected too. But when researchers started comparing sleep habits across huge populations, the results kept coming back with the same strange pattern. Sleeping too little was bad. No surprise there. But sleeping too much was bad too. Imagine drawing a graph. On one side, you've got people sleeping 4 or 5 hours. On the other side, you've got people sleeping 10 or 11. Somewhere right in the middle are the people sleeping around 7 or 8 hours. You'd expect the graph to be a straight line, where the more sleep you get, the healthier you become. Instead, it looks like a giant U. The people at both ends have higher health risks, while the people in the middle seem to do the best. Scientists call it a U-shaped relationship, which sounds boring, but it's actually one of the biggest clues in this whole story, because once researchers noticed that pattern, they started asking a much bigger question. If sleeping longer is supposed to be healthy, why are people who sleep the longest ending up with worse outcomes? And this wasn't just one study. It kept showing up over and over again. Different countries, different age groups, different research teams. Some studies followed people for years, others followed them for decades. Again and again, people who regularly slept around 9 hours or more often had higher rates of heart disease, strokes, diabetes, depression, and memory problems. One statistic nobody wants to hear: a higher chance of dying earlier than people sleeping around 7 or 8 hours. Now, if you stopped there, it'd be pretty easy to say, well, I guess oversleeping kills you. But that's actually where a lot of headlines get this completely wrong, because finding two things that happen together doesn't automatically mean one caused the other. Here's a simple example. Ice cream sales go up during the summer. So do shark attacks. Does eating ice cream attract sharks? Obviously not. They're connected because something else is happening. More people are going to the beach. That's the real reason. The exact same problem shows up with sleep. Scientists kept seeing that people who slept longer died earlier, but they couldn't immediately tell which one came first. Was the extra sleep causing poor health, or was poor health causing the extra sleep? And believe it or not, that's a much harder question to answer than it sounds, because your body has a weird habit of changing your sleep long before you realize something's wrong. Think about the last time you got the flu. Before the fever, before the cough, before all the obvious symptoms. You probably just felt exhausted. All you wanted to do was sleep. That wasn't random. Your body knew something was happening before you did. Now imagine something much slower, something that develops over years instead of days. A heart problem, a breathing problem while you sleep, depression, chronic inflammation, even some neurological diseases. They don't usually show up overnight. Sometimes, one of the very first things they change is how much sleep you need. And that's where this story starts taking a completely different direction. So now you're probably thinking, okay, wait, so is oversleeping actually the problem or not? And this is where it gets a bit annoying, because the answer is not clean at all. Because most of the time, oversleeping isn't the thing causing the damage. It's more like a signal, like your body throwing up a warning before you even realize something is wrong. Think about it like this. When your phone starts dying way faster than normal, you don't immediately assume the battery suddenly became lazy. You start thinking something is running in the background, draining it. Same idea here. A lot of people who constantly sleep 9, 10, 11 hours aren't just good sleepers. Something else is usually going on in the background. And the tricky part is, you might not even feel sick in the normal way. No big dramatic symptoms. No obvious breakdown, just things like you wake up tired no matter how long you sleep, you feel slow during the day, you lose energy way faster than before, you need naps just to function, and slowly that becomes your normal. Now here's where things get interesting, because when scientists looked at large groups of people, they noticed something strange. Long sleep wasn't just connected to one issue. It showed up again and again across different problems, heart issues, metabolic problems, mental health issues, even general weakness over time. But here's the important part that gets missed in clickbait videos. It's not like sleeping too much equals damage. It's more like something in the body is off equals you start sleeping more. So oversleeping is kind of like smoke. Not the fire itself, but a sign that something might be burning somewhere. And the reason this matters is because sleep is one of the first things your body starts messing with when something is wrong. Way before pain shows up, way before you go to a doctor, way before anything feels serious. That's why it can be misleading. Someone might say, I sleep 10 hours every night and I still feel tired, and they assume the sleep is the problem. But in reality, the sleep might just be the symptom. Now there's another angle people don't really think about. When you sleep way too long, your whole rhythm gets weird. Your body kind of loses its schedule. You wake up later, you feel less sunlight, you move less, you stay in bed longer than you should, and that starts stacking up slowly. Not in some dramatic instant way, but more like a slow drift. Less movement during the day, more time sitting or lying down. More grogginess, less consistent energy. And over time, that can make everything feel heavier than it should. Even your brain starts adapting to it. You get used to feeling half awake instead of fully sharp. And once that becomes normal, you don't even notice it anymore. But your body notices. And this is where people get confused, because they expect something dramatic if something is wrong, like pain or obvious illness. But a lot of the time, it's not like that. It's just slow changes in energy, mood, and sleep patterns. So when you hear oversleeping is linked to early death, it doesn't mean sleep itself is some dangerous thing you need to fear. It means people who are consistently oversleeping are often already dealing with something else that's dragging their system down. And here's the uncomfortable part. Sometimes those somethings are completely silent for years. No pain, no warning. Just small changes like needing more sleep, feeling less energy, not being as active, not feeling fully rested even after long sleep. And people usually ignore it because it doesn't feel serious. They just think, I'm probably just tired. But the pattern is what matters, not the single day. Because one long sleep, normal. A week of long sleep. You can lie in bed for 10 hours and your body might still not actually recover properly. You could be waking up without even realizing it, shifting around, not hitting deep sleep properly. All that stuff. So from the outside, it looks like, yeah, this guy sleeps a lot. But inside, nothing is actually getting fixed. And your body knows that.